Nuclear energy is integral to the running of the modern world, contributing to about 10% of global electricity generation. The energy density of nuclear fuels, with the most common being uranium, is very high versus chemical reactions, and the non-intermittent power output from nuclear plants is key to baseload power stability of energy grids. However, with risks of meltdowns, waste, robustness of supply, and more, there are issues to be solved. Today, we are going to dive into an element named thorium, its associated reactors, and whether it has the potential to improve on uranium. Let's dive in. All modern reactors run on uranium, where the isotope uranium-235 undergoes a chain reaction initiated by a neutron, causing uranium nuclei to split, releasing energy and additional neutrons which can trigger further fissions. Despite advantages, there are drawbacks to current reactors. Uranium reserves primarily comprise uranium-235 and uranium-238. U-238 is not actually fissionable, but can be transmuted into plutonium-239. The active fissionable isotope, uranium-235, only comprises 0.72% of reserves, resulting in low upfront fuel utilization. We typically need to enrich uranium fuel as a result. Lack of clarity on available reserves poses uncertainty to supply chains unless we want to talk about uranium seawater extraction, for which membrane technologies or equivalents are not yet economically viable. Lack of adequate reactor control can cause reactor meltdowns, and with a typical nuclear power plant producing tons of nuclear waste a year, riddled with radioactive isotopes, careful disposal is needed. Thorium fuel, i.e. Thorium-232, is an alternative to uranium. Thorium-232 is not fissionable, requiring neutron activation to transmute it into uranium-233, which is. Thorium is around 3 times more abundant than uranium based on natural reserves, and this is especially relevant for India that had historical trade bans and limited indigenous uranium, and has the largest estimate of thorium reserves in the world. Thorium does not have the utilization problem, removing the need for enrichment. As a result, our fuel cycle might look like mining thorium ore, processing, reactor usage, and then either an open fuel cycle with waste storage or closed cycle with reprocessing and special reactors. Thorium also has benefits in proliferation and safety, but with some caveats. In thorium transmutation to U-233, some U-232 gets formed. This is an intense gamma emitter, making the U-233 hard to steal and turn into weapons. That being said, the month-long decay of protactinium Pa-233 to uranium-233 presents a proliferation concern, as U-233 can be made into weapons. Thorium waste contains reduced transuranics and is more short-lived, requiring storage for hundreds of years rather than tens of thousands, but the short-term toxicity is higher and with greater corrosivity. Uranium fuel cycles are also very well established, and despite R&D programs, thorium reactors or fuel cycles have yet to experience true commercial operation. Molten salt reactors have versatility in fuel choice and are well poised to use thorium. The most widely deployed reactor, PWRs, use solid fuel, control rods, and a primary and secondary loop, where the primary loop is pressurized water, serving as the coolant and moderator of the reactor. MSRs use a liquid fuel, typically molten fluoride salts, with a fuel like thorium dissolved into it, giving rise to so-called lifters. They operate with just a singular loop instead, with the molten salt circulating throughout the system. Molten salts are suited for reactors, having favourable heat transfer properties, chemical stability, lower moderation effects, and as a result better neutron economy, and so on. MSRs don't operate at high pressure and have inherent safety mechanisms built in, like negative temperature coefficients, where reactivity decreases as temperature increases, and freeze plugs, which melt and drain the reactor contents in the event of overheating. Liquid fuels don't require an assembly production line and can be added online without requiring plant downtime for refueling. thorium MSRs can leverage thermal neutron spectra for efficient breeding of U-233 and enhanced fuel utilization. Thorium molten salt SMRs are also being explored, ones that can be mass produced on assembly lines, and a company is looking to start mass producing units as early as 2025. Thorium MSRs have their downsides though, like large amounts of fuel circulating throughout the entirety of the coolant system makes this very radioactive, and if the coolant leaks, this now also constitutes a radioactive fuel leak. The fuel is corrosive as well, and decay tanks with scrubbing unit operations will be needed to deal with the gaseous fission product poisons constantly being removed. Before we conclude, chemical engineering technology will be at the heart of thorium development, and I'd like to quickly mention ChemEfy's recently launched course, An Introduction to Chemical Engineering, currently on a limited 35% discount pre-sale. Perfect for anyone wanting to gain a mindset-changing grasp on the fundamentals and cutting-edge technology of the field. Delivered at premium quality, I can assure you this is not an offer to miss. So, thorium certainly holds promise, however it doesn't come without challenges. It doesn't seem to be a frontrunner yet, with the exception of India perhaps, based on technological readiness, proliferation risks and other competing technologies. That is not to say though, that thorium won't have a place going forward, and a number of international projects are indeed working on thorium reactors. That concludes today's video. What do you think about thorium reactors? If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to share, subscribe, and sign up to ChemEfy's mailing list on the website.